Did it tag her in the post?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sweet.
Let me
All
just double
right.
check. Yeah, it did.
All right. Come on in, everybody. Welcome back to the Holler Hour. Thursdays, Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Hope everybody's doing well. tnholler.com. All the hollers, follow them, chip in if you can. $10 a month will send you a hat, and subscribe and support over at tnholler.com. So before we get to our guest today is Kayla Parker, but I just wanted to plug something personal.
Hell yeah.
Tomorrow is the release of Coming to America, the sequel. I am a writer on Coming to America, which is kind of cool. It's been a long road. There's a picture of me visiting the set. That's Tracy. It's a really long story, but the bottom line is I wrote the first draft of this thing 17 years ago.
What?
Yeah, it's been
Wow.
a really long road. I originally wrote it as a script called The King. Wasn't Coming to America, the sequel. Tracy got involved. We became buddies. Then Tracy had his accident. It was really scary. Luckily he pulled through. We became really close friends through that. Actually went to his wedding with Nicole.
What? I didn't
And
know that.
then Eddie decided he wanted to make a sequel, and Tracy had, and I had been involved, and we had the script, and it was basically like pitched as Coming to America in reverse. Tracy finds out he's the king of an African country, goes to sit on the throne. Eddie's like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's make that as, Coming to America, the sequel. Obviously brought on other writers, Kenya Barris, all these great, incredible people, rewrote it. I mean, I'm not saying all the words in there are mine or anything, but it's still the same concept. The guy finds out he's the king of an African country and goes to sit on the throne. And the trailer looks great. And 17 years later, here we are. And here's actually a story that I think I told Tracy this once, but I don't know if he remembers it. When I first wrote the script, I was like, a fresh faced writer in LA. And I thought, yeah, I'm just going to go drop it off at his agent's office. And yeah, he'll find it and love it and we'll make it. That's how this world works. And so I went and I dropped it off at his agent's office. 100% his agent never read it, got it, I'm sure. But as I'm leaving the office, I'm in LA and I'm at a red light. And Tracy Morgan, I shit you not, pulls up next to me at a red
What?
light. And I said, I just dropped off this thing for you. He goes, oh, thanks. And like, I guarantee he doesn't remember that at all. But like to 17 years later, be sitting here with the movie actually getting made, having been to his wedding, friends with
Holy
Tracy,
shit.
like just to have that moment in the back of my, like, it's just wild the way the world works. So
That's really cool.
I've
That is
certainly
so
never told
cool.
that story publicly before. And it's a really cool thing. And the trailer looks great. So I hope everybody checks it out.
That's what I'm going to be doing this weekend, so I'm excited.
I was 10 when I wrote it. I was
Yeah.
pretty close to 10.
Are
Yes.
you
Like,
younger than me? I didn't know.
I mean, let's see, 17 years ago. So I was probably like 24.
Holy
That
shit.
sounds about right. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
I wrote a bunch of different versions. So like I wrote it as a kid too. And we had Bow Wow attached at one point. It was Little
Oh
Bow
my
Wow at the time.
god.
He's not Little Bow Wow anymore.
I think they all
Uh,
need to get made. I think we need to make all of them.
I wrote it for Raven, a princess. It was Raven Simone was
Raven Simone.
interested. I swear, like
That's so Raven.
this is how long this has gone on. And now here it is. So I hope everybody
Awesome.
enjoys it. We have Kayla is going to be coming on in a little bit. Before we get to her, I just want to show a couple of videos from my time visiting the state capitol this morning. I go up there every once in a while to try to see if I can strike up a conversation with our elected officials. And, there's always a lot to talk about. And today, one of the things that was on my mind was the run over a protester bill, which seems to be sailing through. It's basically a bill that will essentially green light doing horrible things to protesters. There's no other way to look at it. This is how this is going to be treated. They're going to, see this as a green light to run over protesters. Is this it? No, that's Ramesh. Sorry, it's not labeled very well. But we have a lot of people who are upset about this. Vincent Dixie spoke out about it yesterday, saying it's going to put our young people
Mm-hmm.
in jeopardy. And, what are your thoughts on it while I look for it here?
Oh man. I mean again it's not surprising to me that it's being brought forth by the Tennessee state legislature or by the GOP, but I just heard from a couple of the Democratic leadership folks on a press conference today, like Senator Akbari, Senator Yarborough, and both of them are just appalled by this legislation. However, I was disappointed, and I know we posted this clip a couple of days ago that in the subcommittee when it was first brought up, it was not the Democrats in that committee, of which I think there were only two, did not push back on it,
Yeah,
and
they didn't.
Representative Bill Beck was
Said,
in
"Thank
support
you
of
for
it.
bringing this bill. It was wild." This is Ron
Yeah.
Gant. I found it. This is Ron Gant. I had to wait. Ron Gant, like I don't know if he was hiding from me or he really had to stay late, but like you can see there's nobody really in there behind him. Like he made me wait for him for a good 45 minutes after. And this was our
Wow.
exchange. All worried that the reaction to your bill to allow people to run over protesters is going to end up with having blood on your hands? Are you worried about that? Are you worried that that's going to happen, Ron? Good to see you, Justin. You hear that voice? Good to see you, Justin.
Yeah.
That's Speaker Sexton. He's in the
Of
back.
course.
He's in
Of
the
course.
back of the elevator. Felt the need to
Good to
chime
see
in
you.
and say good to see you and tease me a little bit, which is fine.
Oh,
But
they're so funny.
this bill is a gross bill and it's not hypothetical. Like,
No.
we saw in Johnson City a protester literally get run over with their legs under the car. It's happened in Memphis. Like, this is not a hypothetical.
Yeah.
And so there's no question that at some point we're going to be looking back on this and seeing this as a really ugly moment in Tennessee legislature history. And Matthew Hill had this bill. It died before for good reason.
Yeah. No, it's super purposeful. And Angel has a really good comment here. That combined with permitless carry are designed to finish off BLM and Antifa. I mean, I think that it obviously, it's just really transparent that it's targeted towards, left protesters especially of those stripes. But it's extremely dangerous because, as you said, in Memphis, in Johnson City, and then all across the country, and there may be more instances in Tennessee that I'm not remembering, but it's becoming a more and more common tactic for, right wing counter protesters to use against left protests. And it's also something that, we saw, unfortunately, the police use against protesters all throughout the summer as well, with zero repercussions. So this will make it even easier for protesters and the police to go after left protesters that they don't want to be hearing from.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, we've seen this all over the place. And it says something like, I don't know, the wording that they use to say what the driver needs to display to be immune. It's so vague.
It's so
And,
vague.
it's like
Purposefully vague.
it's like the stand your ground law. It's like anything to do with police. Like if they feel fear,
right,
they can just say, I felt fear and
right.
get away with this stuff. And so that's what will happen. And I'm concerned for people like Angel, who's commenting right now. It's going to encourage redneck vigilantism. I'm worried about Justin Jones, obviously.
Yeah.
So, and Ron Gant is a name to know, and you should be calling your reps and telling them how you feel about this bill. Before we get to Kayla, wanted to show one more quick clip just because, all of these sort of boil down to government overreach by a party that says it prefers small government. This is Tim
1984.
Rudd. Right. Another name to know is Tim Rudd. Tim Rudd, these are sort of these low-key Republicans who are probably sponsoring these things because they're like, oh, we'll just give it to Ron and Tim. Nobody knows who they are,
Yeah.
but now you need to know who these people are. We need to make it uncomfortable for them to carry this garbage. And this bill is a bill to remove a judge who ruled that we should all be able to vote safely during a pandemic. Rudd has a resolution literally to remove the judge, who is a well-respected judge in Tennessee. The Tennessee Bar Association came out yesterday and ripped him a new asshole for this bill. Really excoriated him, said it's an attack on the separation of powers. So I asked him about it. Hey, Tim, what'd you think of the Tennessee Bar Association coming out against your bill?
I didn't really perceive it that way, but they misunderstand it and don't know what they're talking about.
Attacks the separation of powers.
Okay.
Everybody's wrong, but they don't know what they're talking about. Excuse me. So Tim Rudd, who is not a lawyer, he says the Tennessee Bar Association does not know what they're talking about. But Tim Rudd, he knows what he's talking about.
He's got the
folks.
answers. This guy,
Yeah.
he's
So
the guy with
Rutherford
the
County,
answers.
There's your boy, Rutherford County, Tim Rudd. That's someone that everybody should know about. You should be calling and contacting your reps. It's usually rep.firstname.lastname@capital.tn.gov. It's really hard to keep up with this stuff, like drinking from a fire hose, but we just wanted you to be aware of stuff. Doesn't taste good. So speaking of, I don't want to make a weird segue, but Kayla, how are you? This is Kayla Parker from Organized Tennessee. Nice to meet you. I'm Justin. This is Cassie. We have never met you before. So I just want to introduce ourselves.
Glad to, though. Glad to have you on.
So nice to meet you all.
Yeah,
I was just eating a piece of candy, so I'm excited that I had finished chewing.
Oh, good. Did you see any
timing.
of the nonsense? Like, how up on all of this nonsense at the legislature are you?
Pretty up on the nonsense, pretty infuriated by the nonsense, which is kind of sparked why I do the work that I do, because I am motivated by anger. So always angry, never goes away, but even more so angry lately, and seeing some of the legislature that has, or what the legislature has done in response to so many things that have been seen as progressive and moving us forward. It's just hard to watch.
Anger is an excellent motivator, I find.
Yep.
Tell us, you mentioned the work that you do. Tell us a little bit about Organized Tennessee and what you guys are up to.
Yeah, cool. So I'm the new executive director of Organized Tennessee, started at the beginning of February. So we're a new nonprofit that's working on breaking down barriers to voting. So anything that makes it harder for Tennesseans to vote, we're gonna be up against. And there's a lot of things, as you all are very well aware of. I love that you all recently called out Janice Bowling's piece of legislation that would have eliminated early voting, things like that, things that, fingerprinting voters, poll watching, making sure that we've got people actually on the ground, making sure that the process is easy, fair, and free for everyone. That's some of the things that we're starting to do. So the name of our game is voter protection. We hope to expand and be able to organize and talk to voters and build upon the registration work that has already begun in the state. But we're really plugging into a hole that has been that we're looking to fill, which is that voter protection piece. And I have been told that voter protection is not sexy. And so I've been looking to find ways on making it sexier, but it is what it is. And we're working on that right now. So that's who we are. And that's what I'm doing with us.
Well, yeah, it's tough when issues are just, I don't know, they're not like firebrand issues as much. Like at the Holler, we really try to flame Secretary Hargett and everything. And, I think we do as much as we can with that. But yeah, I mean, sometimes this stuff is just kind of really nitty gritty, but super important. So we're just, really glad that you're doing that work. And
thank you.
Yeah.
You all are doing great work too. Yeah, y'all make it a lot easier.
Well, we try to. And so from nuts and bolts, is it about registering voters? Is it about getting volunteers? What is the need, and what's the focus, or is it just all of the above?
Yeah, I mean, so we have a really specific focus right now, and that's voter protection. So we're training poll watchers. We're looking to train election commissioners. We are hosting annual CLE trainings for Tennessee lawyers so that we have folks on hand that can litigate if need be. And we're working with our partner organizations like the League of Women Voters, and making sure that voters are protected when they go and show up at the polls. But to do the work that we need to do in the state of Tennessee, there's so much more that we need to be doing. Registration is very key. And there has been really great registration efforts in the state of Tennessee already. And we've seen retaliation from the state legislature because of those efforts as well. I don't even know what the word I was trying to find there was, but y'all know what I mean. All right, cool. Yeah. But you see the retaliation happen so often when we do make those steps towards progress. And so we do aspire to be able to build out a voter registration program, as well as a voter education program, because a lot of civic engagement just stems from people being in the know of what's happening, which is why I love y'all and y'all hollering about all of these righteous fights that are going down. We want to continue to keep people engaged and involved, One thing that we started this month in our newsletter was the wall of shame. And so those are the pieces of legislation that should have some shame attached to them and the legislators that are pushing them. So yeah, that's what we do. And that's what we're hoping to grow to be able to do. But we are new. So we're starting with sheer voter protection right now.
You just made me reminded me of a bad idea that I threw at Cassie yesterday.
I thought it was a great idea. I'm excited.
It's a March Madness, but for
Ooh.
terrible Tennessee Republican legislators. So we would have like the top 64 most extreme Republicans, and we would vote until we've crowned the most extreme radical Republican in Tennessee in honor of March Madness. So
call them out.
Sometimes I'll just throw things at Cassie.
Already got votes.
Be like, yeah, let's figure that out. And then I'll realize it's probably too hard to do and it'll go away. But
there are too many. It's like you have to tie so many of them, I feel.
I know.
I think you should
so
lean
many
into
different categories. Like
yes, but
lean into that one though.
If anyone comes to mind for people who are watching, I'd love to know who you think is the most extreme. Jerry Sexton lately has been making a really good push for most extreme. You mentioned some of the other organizations. Like, are you working with organizations? Like, is it because it's there are a lot of good ones, and but to me, the more the merrier.
Yeah, absolutely. Cannot do this alone by no stretch. I mean, we have so much work to do. It's clear in our numbers. It's clear in how engaged folks are. So I think it's just important to recognize that all of these nonprofits in Tennessee really hold a piece of the puzzle. And we're hoping to be a piece of the puzzle that has been a whole, and we want to be able to fill that component. But we are working with other organizations, and we sit at the C3 engagement table. So we're working with folks like Think Tennessee. We're working with folks like Equity Alliance. We're working with folks just all over the place. Anyone who is coming to the table, which is most of these nonprofits that are at our table, are coming in with their focus. And we want to be able to help the work that they're doing by being able to fill a need. So yeah, we're working with quite a few organizations. And in 2020, we were working like right in the same boiler room as a lot of our partners. And so we were able to do some really great work already. And now we're just looking to build and continue building on those partnerships. But yeah, no chance that we can do the work alone. There's so much.
Tell us a little bit about your story and your path to here. Like, what's your background? I think you're from Memphis, right?
Yes, 901. I'm so loud about that. Biggest fan of the Grizzlies, grit grind all day. But originally from Memphis, I graduated from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And my journey is it's not linear by any stretch. But I became an activist first, and I still consider myself an activist first. And I didn't want to be an activist. I actually wanted to be a doctor growing up. My dad's a doctor. I saw it. I wanted to be it. But I'm also a queer Black woman who lives in Tennessee. And so I was faced with a lot of violence as it comes when you are a loud, proud Black woman. And I found myself in a lot of situations, especially on the campus of University of Tennessee, having to stand up for myself and not having too many people backing me up. So if I didn't speak out, nobody was going to speak out. And so I'm a naturally, you would be shocked, I'm a naturally shy person. I've started leaning in more on just going for opportunities, even if my voice is shaking, just speak the truth and let it sit out there and see where it goes. And I really leaned into that in college and only pursued opportunities that were going to help me be better at voicing and talking to people about the issues that I care about most. And that led me to work for organizations like Amnesty International. Really, really frustrated by the situation happening in Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, the famine in Yemen, and all of these different global issues. And I wanted to see if for a couple of years I could convince people right around me to care about those issues enough to support ending them. And so I got really good at being able to talk to people about what I care about, and decided to put that forward towards fights that I want to see us win. And a lot of that is in domestic politics. And so I worked for Elizabeth Warren's campaign. I worked in Georgia on the runoffs. I've worked in Kentucky, but there's nowhere like home. It just doesn't feel right to go to different states and be studying and learning these skills and then not come home and take that work home and do the work that's needed, because there's so much work to do here. So The goal has always been to come back to Tennessee. The goal has always been to study what works and what doesn't work and what the South needs and doesn't need. And so it's just a beautiful opportunity to be able to lead this organization and be able to build on it so that we can actually see those changes long term. But yeah, the main goal is to convince people to believe in the South and invest in the South, and not just invest in us when we have an election, but invest in us long term, because that's what's needed.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Go ahead, Cassie.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think that's so fantastic. I mean, as Justin said earlier, like the more the merrier, you know, we need, I mean, obviously people are talking a lot and thank you also for your work, just all your work, but also your, you know, most recently your work on Georgia. And people are, you know, talking about, oh, you know, we have to Stacey Abrams, Tennessee, and that's totally true, but we're also our own place. And so like, we've got these homegrown organizers like yourself, and we need them here, you know, I mean, that's so fantastic. And I was wondering, I was actually just wondering about, like, you were talking about needing to do like what political education is one of your focuses, or just like civic education, I suppose. And what does that look like through Organized Tennessee?
That's a great question. So I think that really connects with just my methodology about anger. And a lot of times anger is what motivates people to actually get engaged and involved when they know what's happening right in front of them. So, I mean, we've only been around for 1 month, or I've only been around for 1 month with Organized Tennessee. And in this month, we started dealing with a lot of, you know, petitioning and seeing how people respond to when we alert them of this issue that's going on. And we actually did get a lot of support around one issue that we saw on the Secretary of State's official election calendar of 2021. There was an erroneous election date on it. It had just straight up the wrong election date, which is a problem for the town of Jacksboro if they're going to go look at what their date is. And so we petitioned the Secretary of State to make changes, but also to notify all of the constituents that this was an issue and an error and that the change has been made, and let them know what the date of their election is. Well, we got like half of that. They quietly made the change to their calendar, but they did not notify all of their constituents. So our goal.
God.
Yeah. So things like that. I mean, when we see an issue, we want to be able to rally Tennesseans around it so that those changes can be made, but then we can get 100% of what we're asking for so that everyone's in the know about all of these issues that are facing their communities. And we're already statewide. So yeah, no, go ahead.
The pitch is to people who are looking at Tennessee and, you know, maybe thinking, oh, well, why am I going to invest in Tennessee? You know, when there are other states that are closer, like because it seems like a chicken and the egg thing. Like until we get closer, people don't invest, but it's hard to get closer if people don't invest. So what's the pitch?
Yeah. So I'd say that the pitch is easier these days because people are actually able to see what investment does for a Southern state. It was very challenging to get people, like I said, voter protection is not sexy, but if anyone made it sexier, that's Stacey Abrams. And so being able to show investors and being able to show supporters, you know, look how far we have to go. And this is where we currently are. You know, we're so low when it comes to voter participation, but we're also really low when it comes to registration. And if we put more investment and funds into making sure that we have teams of people to be able to go out and register people, and bringing in national dollars and having eyes on us, that's only going to benefit our long-term goals of being able to get, 500,000 people registered to vote in the next 10 years. So we want to show investors, yes, we've got like a long ways to go. And we want to show supporters that, yeah, it might feel like our state has been neglected for a while, but that's not the case. The infrastructure is currently being laid, but we have to be able to have that long-term investment rather than short-term 2018 national race, put all the funds in and then forget about the state. That's what we've seen. So
and put the most moderate, like lukewarm candidate and put all the money into that guy, like and then be done with it.
That's right. The problem is
that
people,
that's done.
Too often people look at the election as the goal, and that's not the goal. It has to be an ongoing process. Elections are just sort of markers along the way, but unless this is an ongoing project and building, you know, and you're in it for the long haul, like you're just looking at it the wrong way. And, you know, people feel that too. So, you know, you can't just go invest in specific communities in October for a November election either. So I think it's good that you're doing it. I think it's, the more the merrier when it comes to organizations like yours. How can people help?
Yeah. And I'll say one more thing about that. Like,
Yeah.
communities recognize when you come in with short-term goals. If you're
Right.
coming in just advocating for a certain campaign for a matter of 6 months or a year, and then you're out of that community and they never see a political organizer again. But if you have organizers in communities doing deep organizing, deep canvassing, getting to know communities, working within the communities, giving back to their communities, hiring community members,
Right.
and are actually able to invest in them, then that's when you create that long-term trust that's going to allow people to feel, okay, maybe the political process is something that I should engage in because it's right in front of me and I see it. So that's something that I wanted to add to.
No, I think that's a really good point. How can people help what you're doing? Where do they go? OrganizedTennessee.com?
I love that question. Yeah, organizedtennessee.org is our new website. We actually just rebranded. Yeah, no worries. Just rebranded, have a new logo, loving it. But right now we're really in this building phase. We've got these amazing plans and goals, and we have already started doing a lot with voter protection. Just even in this past Chattanooga municipal election, we had some poll watchers out, we trained them, and we're continuing to build our volunteer base. But we're looking for people to support us. And grassroots is the move. The grassroots is what we need. It's going to be a people movement. So check out our website, see what we're about. Sign up for some poll watching trainings. We've got our CLE annual training that's going to be coming up. It's going to be a free training for all. And, get involved and donate and reach out to me if you want. I've got a lot of people sending me suggestions. They're like, Organized Tennessee needs to be on TikTok. I'm like, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check it out. I don't know if I'm not gonna crush it or anything like that, but I could try if that gets the vote out. But we are such building phase that I want to hear from everyone. We're always an open door for suggestions and help and support. And I'm of the belief that there's a place for everyone in every movement. We hope to have phone banks and text banks, but if that's not your thing, if research is your thing, come on, doors open. Talk to me about how what your skills are so that I can see how that can help us out here in Tennessee. So yeah, that's what we need.
Oh, very cool. Well,
Awesome.
I'm glad you're here doing that work.
Thank
There's
you.
a lot of good people doing it. Civic TN's another one, Equity Alliance, obviously. So, the more the merrier, in my opinion. And I'm glad you're here. And maybe we'll check in with you again down the line, see how things are going. And you can always just jump on here to talk some stuff with us too about all the nonsense.
Oh man,
you can flame Hargett with us anytime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, please. I am ready. I am game. I'm so into that.
Cool. Kayla, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
For sure. Thanks for having me. I'll see you.
Thanks.
Take care. So that's Kayla from Organized Tennessee. Another group that's doing some good work here. And again, I just feel like the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Obviously we're friendly with the Equity Alliance, who's doing some of that work. Civic Tennessee is another
Porch
one.
Politics tonight.
Porch Politics is tonight.
6 p.m. Central.
What? So, get involved. I'm sure, if you're watching this show still with us, you're probably doing something like that. But definitely support them. And, I like that she's young. And, I think it's always good to have the young people running things like that.
And local from Memphis, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. I see the TikTok. Everybody's saying TikTok. I like the TikTok videos I see, but I haven't figured out how to I'm so focused on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We still haven't solved.
Oh man, it's like
Vine.
Yeah,
I remember just when
so
I was
many
starting to
platforms,
understand
it's hard.
Vine, it went away.
Oh, I know, but I think TikTok
bandwidth.
seems better than Vine ever was.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I respect people who do it. I feel like I kind of found my
I don't know if
thing.
we have the bandwidth right now. If someone wants to do a Holler TikTok, reach out to us.
Yes, absolutely. All right, that's pretty much what we had to say. I know that here was, for the people who are still with us, this is a clip that Cassie pulled today. This is a point that Vincent Dixie made, which was kind of amazing. If this is the right one.
It's wild.
No, that's Lundberg. All right.
There's too much
going on here. That was Lundberg
too much craziness.
Taking a knee, it was like flipping the bird to the flag, which is just not a good point in any way.
Oh, yikes.
This is Vincent Dixie and his point about permitless carry.
I was talking to one of my church members who's blind. Like, he has to walk around with his cane, and he said that he could go now and get somebody. Even now, he could go online and have somebody take the test for him, he can get a permit. So getting the permit is very easy. But he said if they pass the permitless carry, he's going to be the first one in line to get a gun. The blind man with a gun. There's no provisions or there's no safety. It's just he can have one if he wants one, which that is his right to do that. But I'm just saying, is it the right thing to do? Is it in the right thing? Is it just for public safety?
Blind men with guns running around Governor Lee's Tennessee. Nothing against blind people. But,
no, but
it definitely, it just
does it make
goes to
any
show-
sense though? Does it make any
doesn't make
sense to
and
anyone?
It just shows how, loosey-goosey these guys are with people's lives. There's nothing pro-life about anything they do ever. And
Right.
and so
It's all
for
about
them
control, or at least control
and-
with when it comes to being pro-life, about control.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, follow the Holler. Check out Coming to America tomorrow. Let me know what you think. And we appreciate you guys as always. And we will see you on Tuesday.
See you Tuesday.